Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, it's good morning here in Australia. But if you're joining us from somewhere else in a different time zone, I say hello, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the time it is. Thank you so much for spending your time here with us. Today, we're going to be talking about how to set yourself up for a successful networking festive season, which of course is around the corner. It's almost December, and I'm sure your diary is jam packed with events. Now, what normally happens when we go to these events and people ask, well, what do you do? We end up going through the same old story that we have solidified in our heads. Well, today we're about to change that, and we're about to change it for the better. We're about to use your LinkedIn profile, and that is integral to this, to give you a bit more room, to give you a bit more confidence, and to give you that edge to have a fun, networking, productive season. My guest today is Karen Tisdall. Karen is a LinkedIn profile writing legend. She has been in this job for a number of years. I believe it's over 15 years. And she'll be able to tell us a little bit about herself, and how she got into this, and how we can optimize our profiles to make sure that we really, really, really bank on networking this season. If you are coming across me, if you haven't come across me before, as you can tell, I need my coffee this morning. My name is Christina.Charenkova, and I do change. I do change because we all go through change. Now, my passion is corporate change, but I also love talking about personal change. And this is a little bit in this bucket. What we're talking about today is how do we change our personal profile to make sure that we can really bank on the opportunities that are coming our way. Now, without further ado, I'll give the stage to Karen to introduce herself and to tell us a little bit about what she's doing and why she does it. Karen, please, welcome.
Hi, great to be here with you today. In keeping with, our talking about networking, I think networking is so important. I think so many people think about LinkedIn as a place to create content, and they think of it as a publishing platform. And we've noticed a lot of changes on LinkedIn, especially around LinkedIn pushing followers, in this idea of sort of following people. And my journey on LinkedIn began in 2005. So I was a recruiter for 14 years and began using LinkedIn as a headhunter to search for people. And I remember being in the Lunch and Learn where I first learned about LinkedIn, and it's like, oh my gosh, what an incredible tool. Because at the time it was not a publishing platform. And what really lit me up about the platform was that I could see that on LinkedIn, it was like my childhood address book, my Holly hobby. I had a Holly hobby address book. It had gold rims around the corner, gold leafing, and I loved it because it reminded me of that address book, with the difference that if people changed addresses, it would automatically update. So
Yes.
so we're going back 2005. So in the time before, really before big CRM systems, there were only like a couple of them, and most small companies didn't have one. I thought, oh my gosh, this is like an address book and automatically update. So I just started using LinkedIn as a way to search for people that I could place in roles, but also to search for clients. And that led me to win a National Recruiter of the Year award. Fast forward to 2009, I'm on maternity leave. Haven't been in Sydney very long. I've got a little baby who's only a few months old. I really want to work again, and my husband's constantly traveling. I have no family here. I have no support. I have no daycare, and I have one friend because I worked in a small satellite office for about 8 months. So only had one work friend. So I didn't know anybody. And I reached out on LinkedIn and I built my network. And it's just been incredible for me. So here am I almost 15 years later, and it's just been incredible. So I really want to show people today how to use LinkedIn, not around creating content, but really thinking of this as a relationship management tool. And I'd really love to share
Mm.
tips around, around networking and that sort of stuff. Are you much of a networker yourself, Christina?
Am I new to the networking?
No. Are you much of a networker? Like, do you network?
I
Talk to us about your networking experience.
oh
And please drop in the chat, people. I'd love to know what you're thinking, what you're all thinking.
yes, thank you for that problem, Karen. So people that are joining us, please, please, please pop where you dialing in from or where you joining us from. And if you have any questions or anything that's at the back of your head, like would this be okay to do on LinkedIn, please pop them in and we'll answer as many as we can. Now, going back to Karen's question about networking, I love people. And that's how I got into change. When we're talking about corporate change, when we're talking about organizations going through transformation, a lot of that impacts on people. And I loved it because even though I studied computer engineering and I was supposed to be on a track to become a programmer or an engineer in computer systems, that didn't quite tick my boxes at the time. And I started talking to people. I started working in project management, and that led me into the change space and really understanding people and how people deal with change and how to work with change resistance, how to really work with effective communications. And I loved it. I still do. People is what I do. When people go, oh, do you do change management? I think I do people. So yes, I love the fact that we're talking about this morning. I am a real advocate for LinkedIn, and I think what you put on LinkedIn is instrumental because most of the time nowadays, when you meet somebody new, you go, oh, I wonder what this person does. Or, oh, I wonder what company they work in. And you quickly Google them, Me, I am guilty of that. Now, but did you know, Karen, that Google and LinkedIn, and I'm sure you do, are best friends. Like some of the first links that pop in when you Google someone are their LinkedIn profile. Because of course, Google trusts LinkedIn in a way that it wouldn't necessarily trust all of the other social networks, just because I think LinkedIn is a bit more professional. LinkedIn, of course, is owned by Microsoft. So they have a bit more of a trust relationship. So it is absolutely incredible that what you can put on LinkedIn, and a lot of that is customizable by us. We control the information that we put out there, and the story that we want the world to hear and to read about us. So I'm really looking forward to giving people those gold nuggets about what they can put on their profiles and how they can be, one, connecting with people that resonate with their cause, that resonate with their vision, and two, expanding their network. Because of course, we're going to a lot of parties, a lot of social gatherings. There's so many events around Christmas and around this festive season time. So I'm really looking forward to diving in and going through some of those like quick wins that we can do straight away. Not kind of, oh, I need to block in half an hour of my calendar. Or I need to block in a day to update my LinkedIn profile. Something that people can really lean into doing straight away.
Yep, absolutely. So instead of talking about profile and some quick tips around profile, I think it's great you've got to have a fantastic profile because that's where your experience is verified. So your experience is verified on your LinkedIn profile. And if you Google your name, yes, LinkedIn will show right at the very top. So it's important to have a great profile, and it's important to optimize your headline, the bit that sits underneath your name. And it's important to front load that. And by front load that, make sure that you start really quickly with what you do. And when I say really quickly, just make sure that's the first thing people see, because every time you comment on somebody's post or every time somebody clicks on your profile or they find you in a search, that's what shows. But coming back to that networking and some networking tips, some things that I want people to think about is just how much we're meeting in person this Christmas. And so, so I think, or and for our summer. So we're all out there here in Australia. In the UK, you might be hiding in pubs, hiding from the cold or something. And so what I'd love people to do is to just get their mobile phone out. And if you get your mobile phone out, a lot
Okay,
of
I'm
people
doing
don't
this right now.
a lot of people don't realize that you can click in the search bar, and that will then bring up, you can see these little dots here, those are all the lists of people that I've recently searched for. Above them on the right hand side, you've got like these little square things, and if you
Yep,
click
I
on
can
that
see it.
square,
Yeah.
it will bring up a QR code. So what I'd love people to be doing this networking season is to bring up a QR code. Absolutely. And one of you needs to be the scanner. And if you guide people who you're talking with over Christmas into doing that, one of you can be the scanner, one of you can be the holder of the QR code, and you can tap each other's phones. That will take you straight through to each other's profile. And then you can connect from there. And the reason why this is so important in networking, face-to-face networking, is because so often, we've all been stuck on the room and, with that person, and they're talking about something and we're fascinated. We've been talking with them for ages. And we're like, we should connect on LinkedIn. Sorry, what was your name again? Or you're like, sorry, how do I spell your name? And
How do I spell your name? That's right. Yes.
and you're typing in their name, and and you're like, is this you? Is this you? So
Yes.
I love this QR code tapping, and I love this idea of going to events and just tap, 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 and trying to collect as many people as possible. And
Yes.
then the next day sending voice notes.
Oh, this is fantastic. I know we have exchanged a few voice notes. Talk to us a little bit about that voice note. I have to say, I am a little bit resistant to putting my voice out there and on a note. I'm happy to write a message, but a voice note is so much more. I suppose you can hear the tone, you can hear the excitement, you can hear the emotion in the voice. It's so much better.
Why are you reluctant to do voice notes? What
I
holds
think
you
I'm
back?
just
And I think it's an important question, because I'm sure other people listening to this are like, that's me. So, please tell us why that's
I
challenging for
think,
you.
yeah, I think it's just like a change, right? We're all resistant to change until we try it, until we do a few of them. And then once you do it, you go, oh, this is actually fine. So it's one of those things that I haven't necessarily done in the past. Other people have done with me, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I go, oh yeah, I must do this. And I just revert into my old ways. Don't we all revert into our old ways?
So for you, it's a habit of, I've connected to somebody, I'll write them a note. So so for you, it's habitual. It's, I've connected, let's write something. Is that right? That's what you're
That's
saying?
right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need to move away from that when we've initially connected to somebody. Now, I think
Yeah.
writing notes, and I'm a writer. You have to remember, I write LinkedIn profiles, so writing's totally my thing. So, and I think we've got Lynette Johnston is joining us today, and she's also a writer in New Zealand. So writing's totally my thing. But we have to remember that trust in the written word has been declining since the 1970s. People don't trust what they read.
Okay.
And if you're like, really? This is the first time I've heard this. It's not. Think about your parents and your grandparents. They were like, I read it. It must be true. Well, now you're like, I read it. It must not be true. We're almost sort of primed for being sort of sold to, and primed in the way that we're expecting it. And we don't want it.
Right.
We don't like it. So we don't trust the written word. And I think with increased use of automation on LinkedIn, which is illegal and will result in your account being shut down. You can't don't use chatbots and automation on LinkedIn. But with so many people doing that on LinkedIn, and so many of those unauthorized tools, which LinkedIn are very good at shutting down, and so many people often using VAs, which again is also against LinkedIn's terms, where they'll have somebody else will comment on their behalf. When you see a written note, you're like, is that from a person? Is it from a bot? You just don't quite trust it. When you hear a
Yeah.
voice, it's more connecting. A voice note only goes for 1 minute, so it's got to be really short, and I think it's really
Oh, that's good to know. So it can be
yeah.
quite punchy, quite to the point. Great to meet you. I really enjoyed our conversation about XYZ. Let's connect again over a coffee in the next couple of weeks. Looking forward to seeing you. something
You're
of the
good at this. You're
something of
really
the
good at this.
sort.
You're really good at I can't believe you're not doing voice notes. And you know what I love about what you just said, Christina? You started with the audience in mind. So what you never want to do is leave a voice note with, hi, I do this and I can sell that. Or, hey, I'd really like a job. Can you employ me?
Yeah, right.
Don't start with you. Start with
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So I think it's
Makes
really
sense.
great to do the QR code tapping at an event, connect with people, and then the very next day you bring up their profile. So I've got Christina's here, and I click on message.
Yeah.
And then in the bottom right-hand corner, you've got a little microphone that most people don't even notice. When you click on that, the first time you do that, it'll ask you to access your microphone, and then you've got a blue dot. When you click on this blue dot, you can record a message. And if you swipe to yes, and then
Fantastic.
if suddenly the dog starts barking or you have a coughing fit or something, you can then delete it like that. So it's super easy. And so what I always do, you don't need to say your name. I can see your name elsewhere. So what I always
Yeah.
do is take a deep breath in and speak on the out breath, because as somebody who stood on, you just don't want the first thing the audience hear is to be you going, because that just sounds creepy and weird, right?
Yeah.
So no Darth Vader impressions here. So deep breath in, speaking on the out breath, and you want to make it about the audience. So make it about them, then a little bit about you, and then about them again. So it's a sandwich with them at the beginning, them at the end. So you take a deep breath in, speak on the out breath. Hi, Christina. Really great to meet you at last night's networking event, where we learned lots of tips about LinkedIn. It was really fantastic. So really thrilled to meet you. Look, we didn't get to talk for long. I had a babysitter and had to rush off, but it'd be great to reconnect sometime. So if you're ever up for a chat, let me know. I don't know if you remember much about what we sort of spoke about in terms of what I'm doing, but I'm really moving towards being an architect in 2024. So, if you know of anybody who needs an architect, let me know. That'd be great. But really just wanted to reach out and say thanks so much for the chat last night. It's really great to meet you and hope to connect again. Take care. Bye.
Oh, fantastic.
Architect? Who becomes an architect in a few months? But I know, and I'm blushing as if I wasn't read enough already. I've been running around constantly this morning. So
that is a fantastic feature. It is absolutely fantastic. And I think you're right. It's so much more personal. It's so much more emotive, and it shows interest. I think you're right. Like, a note is great, and a lot of people send out notes still, but I think it's about change. It's about embracing the new functionality that we have.
It's about showing that you're human.
Yes, of
It's
course.
about connection.
That is exactly
It's
right,
about
Karen.
difference.
Spot on.
Yeah,
Showing
so
that
many
you're
great
human.
tools on LinkedIn. So,
Yeah.
and I also love the search tools as well. For those of you who are not actively networking face to face, I really, we've got some incredible functionality on LinkedIn. I mean, it's just such an amazing tool, and we need to think of it as an address book of everybody we've ever met, but also, what if there are people we haven't met that we need to meet? If you want to set yourself up for success in 2024, do you have the right network?
Yes.
Do you know everybody you need to know?
Yes.
And by the search tools, I'm not just talking about, getting out your LinkedIn and just typing into the search bar, the name of somebody you want to connect with. I'm talking about actually, using the search tools in here. And I think a lot of people don't realize you've got incredible
Yes.
functionality. Do you do searches, Christina, or is it just
Yeah.
that?
I do quite a bit of searching. I love connecting with people that are in the same sort of thinking space, but also people that are completely in different industries or for example, AI is absolutely huge out there. So I'm interested in how AI shapes the project world, how AI shapes the future of work. So I'm connecting with a lot of AI experts because of course that will have an impact on people, have impact on organizations. I'm also interested in building a local community, so I connect with a lot of the people that live in my local area that are either small business owners or people that do any kind of work with businesses, with transformation, with change, and I love doing that. I think sometimes you don't know who's on your doorstep, and you're not
So do you
necessarily.
actively search? So you put in keywords and you actively search.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think it's such a great tool. And so, for those of us who've joined, thank you, Mel. Great to see that you're here. So for those of us who have joined us on desktop, I think it's really great to just sort of think about, you don't have to have a keyword in your search bar. You can literally just click in search, and then you can go across to people. So when you click in there and then click on people, and then you can bring it across and it will literally come up. And once you've got the people section in green, so you can then move across and you can see all sorts of different people. So click on all results and then click on people so that the people button is green. And then you can scroll across. So I put in learning and you can scroll across to there to all filters. And the all filters button is amazing. So that all filters button will give you really great search functionality. And it's not just in the top bit here, but you can scroll all the way down to keywords and you can actually search by job title. So this is where you can find anybody anywhere in the world, which is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, because of course, while we're talking about face-to-face networking, the other side that is enormous and can add massive value to your networking and to your profile is connecting with experts worldwide and connecting to events such as this one, live broadcasts that others are doing worldwide. So this is the beauty of the LinkedIn community. It's a global community. So whilst it's important to connect to your immediate network, I think the beauty that we have in this day and age is that we can connect to anyone, anywhere in the world who is on LinkedIn. And I think LinkedIn just recently posted that they've gone over 1 billion users. So
wow, I
how
actually missed
amazing is
that
this?
post. Yeah, I missed that. So 1 billion, yeah, it's incredible. So got 14 million here in Australia, where we're dialing in from. So it's really incredible. So I think it's really great to sort of find, don't wait for happenstance for the right person to cross your path. I think you can proactively go out there and look for the right people and search for people that you want to build relationships with, and also have a look at the events that you're attending and see if you can sort of, if you can get an attendees list or you've got some idea of who else might be going. And you can research those people before you turn up to the event, because, they do have photos on LinkedIn, of course. So you can go, rather than sort of wander around the room going, who do I need to speak to? You can actually go, okay, well, who's likely to be at this event? Have a look through, look at their face and go, okay, when I'm at that networking event, those are the people that I'm going to speak to. And counter to that, you can also make sure that when you are meeting with people on LinkedIn, or you're connected to people on LinkedIn and you don't know them well, you leave them a voice note saying, thank you so much for the invitation to connect. Really appreciate connecting, or whatever. You leave it a few months and then you find an industry event that's on. And you say, hi, I noticed that Christine is going to be speaking in Brisbane in March about change. You're a change manager. I'm going to be heading up to Brisbane. Are you going to the event as well? If so, it'd be great to put a face to the name. So have a think about what events are on LinkedIn and what events are you're attending, or the industry that you work in is attending, and reach out to people that you're connected to but you don't know well, and say, are you going to that event? It'd be great to meet you. So
Yeah.
thinking of LinkedIn as a tool that can help strengthen the relationships you already have that are quite weak ties. It's where you can build relationships and find new people to build relationships with.
Yes. Just a couple of tips on the QR code, Karen. Thank you so much for bringing this up. I recently started using this functionality on a networking event here on the Sunshine Coast. And what I found is that sometimes, you'd have your phone and it'll be a little bit fiddly going through LinkedIn and finding exactly where the QR code is. You can actually take a photo of your own QR code with your own phone. So take a screenshot and have that photo ready for people to scan in. So then it's much easier to navigate to that photo. Do you know what I mean? Rather than kind of going, oh, where was it? I forgot where exactly.
Yeah.
So I did that. And it was so easy to connect to people because, of course, I'm blessed with a little bit of complicated last name. So people never know how to spell my name and how to find the profile on LinkedIn. So the QR code made it exceptionally easy.
Yes, and you can also have the QR code on the back of a business card if you happen to be carrying business cards. I tend not to take a photo of my QR code and have it on my phone. And the reason why I don't do that is because while I know where the QR code is, a lot of people that I want to connect with don't. So I have to guide people on how to get to the bit where we can scan. And that becomes a nice point of contact with a stranger anyway. So you might be talking to somebody only for a few seconds and say, look, I'd love to talk longer, but, I've got to go and, or I need to go to the bathroom. I've got to go and do this or something, but look, I'd love to connect on LinkedIn. And so rather than, type in that last name, if I had it on my phone, I wouldn't be guiding them on how to do it. And I'm saying, so how we can each connect on LinkedIn really easily is, oh, no, don't type in my last name. We just do this. And so I think that's helpful because from a human perspective, we know that people get a small dopamine hit every time they learn something. Thank you, Jeff McLean, for joining us. I know that he loves voice notes and I'm so thrilled that he used them. But we do get dopamine hits when we learn new things. So if you can teach somebody something, and I say teach with a bit of a cringe because you don't want to be lecturing a stranger that you've just met at a networking event, but if you can impart some new knowledge, you'll be that much more memorable to the person. So that's why I don't take a screenshot of it, so that I can show other people how to do it.
Fantastic.
So I think that can be super powerful, and super powerful to keep in mind the search functions and the idea of, if you've got an event that you're going to, send people notes out and say, are you going to this event? Because, it's hard to build those relationships with people that you don't know in a way that doesn't feel spammy, in a way that doesn't feel insincere. It has to feel genuine. Otherwise, you're just not going to connect properly.
That's right. Yes. Now, when we talk about connecting and after people scan the QR code and then see your profile, can you give us your expert tips on what are the areas in that profile that people go on first impressions? What are the must-dos that we can kind of go, okay, if I had 15 minutes today to spend on my LinkedIn profile and make sure that I'm ready for the networking season, what are the 2 or 3 top things that are absolutely integral that I do?
Thank you, Christina. You asked that question earlier and I dodged it, didn't I? So thank you. I love your tenacity. I also love that we are both drinking. You're on coffee. Nobody wants to see me on coffee. I'm on tea. I am still surprised that I'm still seeing a lot of LinkedIn profiles that are written as if people are not themselves. So people are writing their about section as, Karen is a, and I just think it's really important in your about section, formerly known as your summary section. And if you're looking at your LinkedIn profile and going, summary section, I can't see what she's talking about. I don't have a summary section. Click on the add profile section and it's under recommended summary. And a summary section needs to be where you use words like I and you.
Mm.
And you need to do that. I feel very strongly you need to do that, because I think the world's changed so much in the last few years, and I think we've been through so much collectively, and I think the world is still going through a lot. You know, we've still got some pretty horrid and scary things going on in the world. And so
Yes.
I feel strongly it's misreading the room to talk about yourself like you're too important to talk to people directly. And if that sounds harsh, that's kind of deliberate, because I just think we need to connect. You know, building
Yeah.
relationships is about an emotional connection. It's really hard to have an emotional connection with somebody when they're talking about themselves like they're not themselves, or like they're acting as if their secretary wrote their LinkedIn profile and runs it. So talk about yourself in the first person.
So start with I.
Have an I through there. I would try not to actually start with I. So many people, when you write your profile, you will write, I am a senior leader with da, 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 da. Then go back once you've written your LinkedIn profile and you've drafted it all in Microsoft Word so that you can sort of make sure that the order's great. Once you've done that, I would urge you to think, what's an insight I can start with? And an insight is a question that your audience might be wondering. It might be a fascinating statistic. You know what I said about the dopamine hit of people loving to learn. So I love this Isaac Asimov quote. Isaac Asimov is widely known as an author and movie producer, but he actually movie writer, but he actually started life as a scientist. And he said that scientists, when they discover something, they never shout "Eureka!" They actually say, that's funny. And I love that definition of insight. That's funny. And so
Right.
what you want people going, wow, that's interesting. Oh, that's odd. Oh, how surprising. So if you start your LinkedIn profile with you just sound like everybody else. And you're kind of, you know, to quote Kevin D. Turner, you're blanding, not branding. And so you really want to have something that is relevant to your audience, that's interesting, that's thought-provoking, and maybe even something that polarizes. You don't want to be all things to all people. So just think about a little quote in there. Another thing that I think is quite important, and this is a personal decision, so it might not be relevant to everybody who's joined us today. Gosh, we had over 200 people registered, didn't we? So it might not be relevant to everybody, but think about having your contact details visible in your LinkedIn profile. Now, you've got an info section in your LinkedIn profile.
Yes.
But just check in your settings that it is that at least your first and second network can see your contact details. Because when it comes to networking, you don't just want to verify your expertise and have people go, oh my gosh, this person is amazing. We want to buy their services. Yes. We want to employ them. You know, we would like to partner with them. Look, I don't know them, not too sure I want to reach out. I'd love to just send them a quick email. Can't find their email address anywhere. So it's a huge barrier to that next step if you don't have your contact details visible.
Yeah. So true about the contact details. And you don't realize what contact details you may have had. Now, it will be a really interesting, I think, to hear from the people that are joining us on the broadcast to find out, when was the last time you guys updated your LinkedIn profile? I think
Good question.
If you can drop that in the comments below, that would be just a really interesting, I think, poll to hear from people. Because a lot of the times I think we put something there and we go, oh, my job hasn't really changed, or I haven't been doing anything that exciting in this past year. My title remains the same. And we don't necessarily go in and update. You know, every day we do different things. There's a new project. There's, you know, you're writing papers, you're writing communications, whatever that may be. There is stuff that we keep contributing to every day. And I think it's important to put that at the back of your head and view what you've done during the year with that lens, rather than going, I've been doing the same old job, or I haven't necessarily gone through a big change, so I can't really put anything out there. I think every day we create content. So it's about framing that, and it's about putting, like Karen was saying, start with the insight. What did you learn through doing all of that? So other people can learn from you as well while they're reading your profile. I think that could be something really easy that people can do today. When was the last time you updated your profile? And could you put a little insight there that you learned during this past year?
Yeah, I love that Susie's put, she updated it only yesterday, and somebody's put there, and I'm sorry I can't see your name, it's coming up as LinkedIn user because of your privacy settings. It's saying last year. I'd love to know what month last year.
Last year, yeah.
So I love that you've said that. And I don't speak about that often enough, because so often I will connect with people at a networking event and I'll say, oh, you're working for so-and-so. I know. And they're like, oh, no, actually, I haven't updated my profile. I don't work for that company anymore. And I'm like,
Yeah.
like that's shocking to me. So it'd be really great if people could set just a 6 monthly. I would love 3 months, but if you just set a 6 monthly calendar reminder note to have a look at your LinkedIn profile. And before you have a look at your LinkedIn profile, because you go, oh, well, I'm looking at it, like, what do I need to change?
Yeah.
Every 6 months, just go on to LinkedIn Jobs. Even if you're 100% happy in your role, go into LinkedIn Jobs, just have a look at a couple of the roles that you could move to. What would be your next step? What's the language you're seeing in those job advertisements?
Great
And then
tip.
go back to your LinkedIn profile and then go, okay, have I got those words in my LinkedIn profile? Because you might have moved up in your career to the point that, I know that you're an expert in projects, but you've also run programs, haven't you? Massive change programs, Christina. So you might have the word projects in your LinkedIn profile, but not the word programs. So are you talking to your future self? And do you have a regular habit of looking at those adverts and every 6 months and just going, have I captured the right words? Because words can change, they come and go with trends and things. So I think that's really great tip, Christina. I love it. What other change management tips have you got for us? Because I think that's gold.
That is cool. Talking about overcoming change resistance, I think a lot of us kind of go in, it's a bit, I suppose, LinkedIn profile is a bit like your CV. And how often, or a resume, how often do we update that? Only when we need to find a job, I suppose, or if you want to move into a different role. And I think going back to do it every 6 months, I would say do it every 3 months. Do it every time you get a new project. Do it every time that you get an insight from, something that you've learned from doing what you're doing. And I'll tell you why I advocate to doing it more frequently, because when you break the change into little steps, it's a lot easier to implement it, rather than thinking of, I need to update my whole LinkedIn profile. That's way too overwhelming. I need a new picture. I need a new tagline. I need to update my summary section. Oh my God, I need to update all of my previous jobs and the wording there. Just
LinkedIn skills.
Step by step. Maybe one day dedicate to doing a profile picture. See what good profile pictures you have from the past year. It doesn't have to be a professional photographer, but if you have something that's really high resolution, that's showing your face clearly, looking into the camera, I think it's a great tip. I've changed my look quite a bit over the years. So I think it always makes sense to have something relevant there that people associate with, especially if you're meeting people face to face. They go, oh, you look completely different to your picture.
Yes, I see that a lot. Often see profile photos that are like 10, 15 years old. And, but I did try to sort of say that to my husband. I'm like, honey, I think you need new profile photos. He's like, I haven't changed much. I'm like, oh, really? No. Totally need to have a look at your profile photo. Yeah, every 3 months. I think that's an incredible tip. I think that's really great.
Yes, and I think if you break it down into little chunks that you can do every day or every week and dedicate maybe 10-15 minutes to it, I think it's a great tip. Have a look at the different jobs that are being advertised, and like, are you using the same language, same keywords? What are you including in your profile tagline? And I think that's really important, because as soon as, Karen, you were saying, as soon as you click on somebody or you leave a comment, that's the first thing that they see about you. You'll probably be a better person to advise us on how many characters there are there, but make it punchy, make it really relevant to what you want to be seen as. Not necessarily, it may not be your job title, but maybe you're an advocate for oh, Karen just dropped out. So I'll just continue. I'm sure she'll be joining us in a few seconds. So perhaps you're an advocate for change. Perhaps you are an advocate for AI. Perhaps you are doing some really interesting financial services project, or risk management, or IT, whatever that is. Just make sure that that's relevant, that people can really associate with your vision and with hello, Karen. Lovely to have you back.
That was a little bit exciting. I completely lost internet then. I'm thinking, oh, that's
No.
very strange.
It was very brief. It was very brief.
Thank you. Very kind. Okay, I'm sure I missed lots of really gold nuggets, but I really do love what you said about breaking it down. And so just to sort of think about networking tips moving into the season and breaking that down, and what does that look like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis?
Yeah, fantastic.
I think it's really important. Sorry, excuse me. I think it's really important to have a daily habit of once a day, every day, scrolling through your feed and liking and commenting on as many posts as you can, and adding value in those comments. And so adding value by, oh, that's really interesting, I found similarly, or, oh, interesting, I hadn't really thought about that before, this reminds me of, and telling little micro stories, I think, are really important.
Yes.
If that feels quite time consuming and you're wondering why that's even important, networking doesn't just happen in person. Relationships are built slowly over time. And by commenting on people's posts, you are building a relationship with the person who has authored that post. But you are also building your credibility and your visibility by people who are seeing your comments. So when you've optimized your headline, the bit that sits underneath your name, when you're commenting actively on content, then you'll remind people what it is you do. So they'll think Karen Tisdale, LinkedIn profile writer, So, Christina, I'm nervous of saying your last name. Sherry, can you say it for me again? Change specialist. So, so I think it's really important to sort of constantly be commenting on people's content. Just needs to be for 10 minutes a day. And then having a once a week habit of looking at your diary past and your diary future. And for anybody tuning in from America, you might think of a diary as more like a journal. We think of it as a schedule. So the week past, who have I met? Who have I spoken to? Who was on a webinar that I attended? Maybe they didn't even speak, but I was in a work meeting, and they were one of 15 attendees, and I'd never spoken to them before, who's recently joined our organization that I, sort of waved at the other day. Literally think about all those people and send them an invitation to connect the week past. Look at the week ahead. Who am I going to be meeting this week? I'm going to a Christmas party on Thursday night. Who else might be attending? Can I reach out to people who are potentially attending and say, hi, are you attending, our work Christmas party on Thursday? So being very proactive in reaching out to people. And if you have a habit of doing that very weekly, you don't have to sit down and dedicate, as you said,
that's right.
you don't have to dedicate a whole day or two to doing it. And if you're looking for a role in 2024, then you're already ahead of the game, because you've already got that network before you need it. And then having a once or twice a month habit, so maybe once every fortnight, of activating those search tools, having a look at all of the people that you would want to meet, what are the roles you're moving to, who are the clients that you want, and proactively reaching out in a non-spammy way to build those relationships. I think that can be hugely powerful. And also building in time to leave voice notes. So having a habit of, and I would batch this activity. I think it's really important for all the activities that you do this in one sitting, and having a habit of, just so that you really do get that flow going. The first voice note you leave might be a little bit clunky, but it will get easier and easier with time. So having a once a fortnight habit of clicking on my connections, and it'll automatically be sorted by most recently added, having a look at those, and then sending them voice notes, thank you so much for your invitation to connect. And, and starting with them, a little bit about you, and then ending with them. So I think, break down your LinkedIn habits and into little chunks, and it'll be nice and easy. And if you can create content, once or twice a week, that would be amazing. And again, I'd advocate for batch writing. And of course, on LinkedIn, you can schedule content now up to 3 months in advance. So
that is a great functionality. I think as we're all running wild and we go, oh yeah, I wanted to share this, and then of course, you have to go to a client meeting, or your boss is calling you, or something else more urgent has come in, and you completely forget, and then you don't share it. So if it's on your mind, you can spend 5-10 minutes writing, not even that, it's probably a 2-minute, this is what I've done, this is what I wanted to share, here's a great insight, schedule it, and it's there ready for sharing. I think that's a great tip. Now, Karen, if people are a little bit shy, shall we say, of tooting their own horn about their own achievements, or about what they've done during the year, and how they are seen by others, what are some tips that you can give that can optimize that while you feel authentic in your sharings, versus, oh, this is, it's not me, I haven't done this, and it's too much.
Yeah. You don't want to be competing with your reader for who's the most awesome. And none of us, and we do have a culture, and I'm not just talking about Australia, but I'm talking about a lot of countries have cultures around not being too big for your boots, don't brag too much, and most of us are quite uncomfortable in that space, and doesn't always endear us well to people. So there are standard phrases that, when I say standard phrases, there are phrases that I use quite a lot that I think can be quite effective. So of all of my achievements, I'm most proud of. I'm really interested in XYZ, and my interest has led me to achieve successes in da, 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 da. So start with an emotion. By putting an emotion at the front, like I'm proud of, or I'm really interested in this, or, I wrote a profile for somebody who literally is curing a type of cancer, and he's curing that because his grandmother had it. So, really powerful. And he hadn't put that in his LinkedIn profile. So when I was writing his LinkedIn profile, we started with talking, growing up, and he said, growing up, my grandmother was a big part of my life. And when she got cancer, and and that has fueled my desire to make a difference. Some of the differences that I've managed to achieve are da, 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 da. Another thing you can say is I'm often described as. So if you want to say I have these qualities, and there are amazing qualities, but I don't want to say, hey, I have these qualities, they're amazing qualities, because that would just sound so wrong.
Look at me, I'm fabulous.
I'm frequently described as.
Beautiful.
A really great way of doing it.
Beautiful.
And again, remembering, you want to start with the audience and then have something like that. But because it is important and to mention what you've achieved. And it's really important to list that out, and it's important to do that in a way that's not, I'm so clever and so amazing. And when you've written it, many people, particularly high achievers, often really struggle to write about themselves, and they'll try and make every word perfect. Don't do that. Just write it in a Microsoft Word document. Just get it all out there. Just, get it all out there, write it all up, and I wanted to say bath up that ugly draft, and that's what you want to do really, is you want to get it all out there and then go back and reorder it. And so without editing, don't sit in judgment of your words until you've got them all out, and then reorder it so you've got some nice flow, a nice story arc. Is there a bit of, in the past I did this, now I'm doing this, in the future I look forward to. So is there that, you can have a chronological storyline.
Beautiful.
You could have a storyline of like a David and Goliath story. We all love those. Tell us where you overcame a hurdle. I started with this, and growing up I didn't have much money, and so that has really fueled my interest in financial services. And so sort of just what's your flow, get the flow right, and only once you've got your flow right, then edit, and then cut. And if you're afraid that you might be bragging or coming across as too much, then just sort of think, how many adjectives have I got in this sentence? So I am somebody who can be, which you believe, Christina, I can be a bit too much for some people. So when I write, everybody watching this is going, yes. So when I write, as a writer, I actually write the way you should not write. I write full of adjectives. But I just write them because that's how I am. I'm very, I feel very strongly about a lot of things. So I've got those very strong feeling words all over my writing. And then I'm just going, okay, I only need one adjective in that sentence, So you use an adjective, a describing word, to pull attention to something. And if there are other people who are watching this who are also quite passionate people, just sort of think, where have you got your adjectives? And just less is always more. I've learned this the hard way, so less is always more.
Yeah, I love it. I think, like you're saying, we need to be authentic, and therefore writing it in our own authentic voice, with the words that we would use in a conversation is super important, because then you're being true to yourself. Then it doesn't feel like it's too much. I think if I'm reading a job opening or something and I'm trying to use the same words, I think that's good, but I would try to adapt those words to my language, to the how I would talk about it. Because in a real setting, whether it's virtual or face-to-face, you wouldn't necessarily use someone else's words. You would use still your own words.
Yeah, I kind of respectfully disagree.
And please tell me more.
That's okay. That's my passionate side coming out again. How many adjectives did I use in that? It's important to use the keywords that are in job adverts or keywords that your prospective clients are using, because that's what they'll use to search for. So we need to think of LinkedIn as like Google. What are your SEO words? But make them your own. So where I love your authenticity, Christina, and your brave
make
courage.
Sure it's relevant.
Yes, make it relevant around it. Yes. How do those words fit into your story? You have to use those words because we have to think from an SEO point of view of those words. And I always tell the story of a LinkedIn profile, profile that I wrote for somebody ages ago, many years ago. He was the most amazing man, and he completely revolutionized. He might even be watching today. He completely revolutionized how our supermarkets are laid out, not just here in Australia, but across Asia Pacific. So incredible person. CEO of a large organization, was looking for another CEO role. I look at his profile, I look at his resume, and I did a Control F on his resume to word search through his resume. I said, you don't have the word strategy or strategic in here at all. And he's like, but I am so strategic. And I'm like, I know, and it's not here. And let's go to your job adverts. How many times Control F can we see the word strategy? So it is important to use the right words, but make them your own with your story.
Yeah, that's a good tip. How many times have you used the word in your profile that you want to be associated with? I think that's a great tip. What are the most important things that you're passionate about, and are you actually saying it enough?
And you can say it in different parts of your profile. I see many people with experience sections that are massively underdeveloped, where they've just got their job title, the name of the company,
Yes.
And many people now have added skills, but they don't have a description. So, and then in the description for senior leaders, what I see in senior leaders, which is a marked difference from where I see the other end of the spectrum, is I see senior leaders in the description, if they write anything, they write about the company.
Yes.
And if they're at far more junior level, they don't write at all about the company, which is great because I can click on the company logo and find out all about the company. But it's a long shopping list of everything they've ever done, and it's really in the weeds. And it's talking to where they have been and what they have done, not what they want to do. So we always want to have that lens of what's your future self? What are you moving towards? And business owners, I think that's just as important. You want to have your entire LinkedIn profile and all of those experiences, not that you have to have descriptions for all of them, not if they're like 10, 15 years back, but not 15 years, but, just it's less the further back you go, but have some words in there that tell me a little bit about what you do, why you did it, what you enjoyed about it. Make sure you've got the word enjoy in your profile, because I want to see, what do you enjoy? What are the things that you're really excited about?
Yes.
Yeah, I use my accountant, because my accountant, Adrian, who actually messaged me 10 o'clock last night, 10 o'clock last night. I'm like, what time are you sending these emails? It's crazy. And he's going, I've just discovered this and this and this. And I love that he's so excited that at 10 o'clock at night, he's still reading about accounting stuff, because I'm just so not interested. I want him to enjoy what he does. That's why I go to him.
Yes.
Not for his technical expertise, but his deep interest in his subject. So make sure that you're showcasing that.
Yes. And of course, if you look at your profile often enough to update it, to review it, to make sure that it's relevant, the story that you have in your head about what you do and how you present to people will get updated as well. Because a lot of the time, if we don't update our profile, we have the same old story in the back of our mind. What do you do? And what do you work? Oh, I'm at so-and-so and I'm such and such. But actually, having done this more proactively, we update the story and we come up with more relevant language, with more relevant experiences, with more relevant interests. So I think it's really important that hopefully people make the time, however small time window you have, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's half an hour. If you can do that regularly, I think it'll help enormously in changing your own story.
Yeah. You are a really wise soul, Christina, because there is so much truth in that. And you know what? All of the LinkedIn Lives and podcast guest episodes, I don't think I've ever said that. And there's so much truth in that. So many of my clients, once I've written their profile, we've gone through it together line by line. They are then securing speaking opportunities. They're performing better in interviews. They're getting more clients. They're pitching better. And it's because we've gone through those words. And that's when I'm doing it for them. If you're doing it yourself every 3 months, the change is going to be even better. And I know I'm trying to talk myself out of clients, but it's so true. If you can work on yourself and break it down your change principle of, break it down into chunks every 3 months.
Yeah, fantastic.
You will notice a difference, because you'll change the language in your head and what people are hearing. And that's so important. It's not enough to just have a great profile. You really need to project it, and it needs to feel aligned. You don't want to have your profile looking like this, but you're like this, there needs to, you don't want any dissonance there. So it's important to bridge those gaps.
Now, we are coming up to our time, and I'm so happy that you guys decided to come and join us. Karen, if people out there wanted to connect with you, reach out to you, find you somewhere at an event, what is the best way for them to connect, to find you, to follow you? Please tell us.
Well, I've got a website, but you know what? I hardly ever look at it, and it's so out of date. I don't think I've updated it since February 2021. Who needs a website, right, when you've got LinkedIn? So find me on LinkedIn, Karen Tisdell, which is Tisdell. And Christina, it's been amazing talking with you. Over 200 guests register for today. So thank you so much. And I love your takeaways. You're a very wise soul, and we all need to follow you too. Oh, where can we find you? Where can we find you, do you think?
You can find me here on the platform. So if you wanted to hear more interesting speakers over the coming year, please follow me and connect with me. I love doing these LinkedIn Live office hour sessions. Karen, thank you so much for your golden nuggets today. They've been instrumental. I hope it has helped all of our 200 plus registered attendees. Now, you can also find the recording of this session. And if you need any more change tips about either your organizational change or how to overcome personal change resistance, you can find some of my courses here on the LinkedIn Learning platform. Thank you again so much for joining us. And I wish you have a productive and fun networking festive season. Thank you, everyone.